Good morning, guys. I did a get ready with me video for my German viewers yesterday, and I thought it would be kind of mean to just have the video in German. And since everybody liked it so much, it was just so cute, I thought I'd do it in English too. I've just cleaned my skin with Snowberry Instant Deep Cleanser. Snowberry is a natural cosmetics brand from New Zealand who were so nice to send me some samples of their stuff, which I'm currently reviewing. I think I'm like in my third week of using these products, and so far I'm really happy. So I'm focusing on using their skincare range at the moment, so I can do a thorough review. So still no makeup on. I just did the cleansing, and I'm gonna use a toner now, which I do every day. I'm using Thayer's Rose Pale Witch Hazel Toner. I really love Thayer's. Seriously, guys, you gotta check their products out. They were so nice to send me some other toners too, which I was able to review, and I'm really super happy with all of them. Love the cucumber one. If you like peach, you're gonna love the peach one, but my all-time favorite is still the Rose Petal Witch Hazel one. And there's not much left, as you can see, but there's 12 fluid ounces in here. I've been using it for almost a year now, constantly non-stop, day and morning. So not a year, but we're getting close to a year. So this stuff is pretty you get some stuff, you get like a good value for your money. Costs about $12. Absolutely worth it. Made my skin so much better, even though my redness and stuff still came back due to the pregnancy. I know that some people just dab it on with their hands. I am preferring the cotton pad method though. It's just a matter of preference. After the toner, I am using the Snowberry Intensive Renewal Face Serum. You just need a tiny little bit. As I mentioned, I've tested these tiny little tubes for about 2 weeks, a little more than 2 weeks now, and they're still almost full. Snowberry is ethically and ecologically correct when it comes to producing and harvesting too, which I really like. They do their own they have their own reforesting programs and stuff like that. So that is really cool. I don't know about any other natural cosmetics company that really does that. So that is really nice, and you see where your money gets to, because the stuff is not really very cheap, but like I said, just this lasted me about 2 weeks, and I still have a lot left. Next is the Nourishing Rich Day Cream. I am still using the Rich Day Cream because my skin is still in winter mode. Yes, my skin has two different modes, winter mode and summer mode. And in winter I need a lot richer face creams than I do in summer. And in summer I can get along with a lot lighter face creams. But as I mentioned, still in winter mode, even though I am currently switching. I think I am seeing how this is starting to get a little too rich, and I think I will have to change to the light day creams soon. And last but not least, the Smoothing Eye Serum, also Snowberry. And reviews of the products will follow very soon. I just want to add probably another week of testing before I draw a conclusion and do a review. I don't like testing products, especially when it comes to skincare. I really don't like testing products for just a week, even though it would be enough for me, because if my skin reacts, it's gonna react like immediately. But still, I got more than 1 week worth of product, so why not test it to the full extent? Okay, next I am gonna use a primer. We're gonna let this settle a little bit. This is very important. I think that's probably one of the biggest mistakes that people make, and then their makeup doesn't last, or it gets blotchy or something, is that you don't let your layers dry. This sounds like kind of something exterior design or something somebody that you paints your walls would say, but you really gotta do that. This is probably the most time consuming thing, is to wait between layers. And yes, we're doing layers, not thick layers, but we're doing layers anyway. I'm gonna be using Too Faced Primed and Poreless a primer. I also do have the Pixie primer, which I'm really not a big fan of. I do have Victoria's Secret Pro Airbrush FX Illuminating Primer, which I really, really love. It's a great primer for a great price. And I have the Maybelline Baby Skin Instant Pore Eraser Primer here too, which is actually really, really good. And almost a dupe to the Primed and Poreless primer. But you need a lot more, and there's a lot less in the tiny little tube. So the price difference is not really existent anymore. I also have the Benefit Professional Primer, and I know that a lot of people love this primer. I am just not a big fan of it, especially not when I compare it to the Too Faced Primed and Poreless Primer, which is a ton better. But it's all personal preference. I've tried quite a few primers now, and this is definitely my go-to primer, probably forever. If you don't want to spend 30 bucks, definitely go for the Victoria's Secret one. You get the most value and the best results for the cheapest price. Victoria's Secret primer only costs you 10 bucks and will last you forever too. There's really a lot in there. You don't need a lot, just a tiny, probably pea-sized amount, and there's a lot in here. We have 1 ounce in here, which sounds like very, very little, but it is a lot. This 1 ounce will go a long, long way. I bet you'll be able to use it for at least half a year every day, if not a year. After we've used our primer, I'm going to apply foundation. I'm going to apply Maybelline Fit Me Foundation in the shade 115. What really, really bothers me about the Fit Me foundations is the fact that there's no pump dispenser, which really bothers me because it makes dispensation of the foundation really, really hard. And it's tricky. To apply the foundation, I'm going to use my Sonia Kashuk Core Tool in number 130. This is a domed face buffer. Really, really super soft brush. Rather tightly bound. Is soft, but you also get some resistance to work with it. So really, really great brush. And I think the sun is just going up and messing a little bit with my camera. I'm seeing this because okay, just a little bit of the foundation, and I'm gonna be adding a little bit of LUSH Feeling Younger Skin Tint to this. Is kind of like a highlighter cream, but you can mix it with your foundation, and you will get a really pretty glow when you use this. And before I forget it, because I tend to sometimes forget it because foundation is usually enough for me, we're gonna use a little bit MAC Studio Sculpt Concealer in NW15 for the under eye circles, and for that I'm using an Eco Tools concealer buffer. I'm just gonna dab a tiny little bit in under my eyes and try not to get into this direct sunlight as I see. Not a lot, just a little bit. My under eye circles are not as bad today as they were yesterday when I did my German video for some reason. Even though I slept a lot less tonight. And then we're going to mix a tiny little bit of the Feeling Younger Skin Tint with the foundation and apply it with our foundation brush. We're doing really, really, really thin layers. We don't want to like throw on a layer that's too big. I think that's really essential that you do thin, thin, thin layers, guys. Rather do 2 thin layers than 1 layer that's too thick that you can't work in properly. And we're gonna work it in real good. I'm doing circular motions which kind of works out best for me. And this is one thin layer, and I'm gonna just add a tiny little bit more foundation. So I'm gonna be doing a very thin second layer to increase coverage. But as I said, we're not doing super thick layers. We're doing really super thin layers because they are absolutely enough. If you do your first layer too thick, then you've already lost, because you won't be able to work that in and achieve a natural look anymore. So you want to make sure you just use a little bit and rather add a little. It's so hard. You can always add. It's so hard to take away some. So thin layers, really important. Work it in well. There you go. As you can see, the skin tone is a lot more even immediately. And we're going to top it off with some powder. I'm using my Sonia Kashuk Professional Powder Brush, which is one of the fluffiest, softest brushes I've ever seen in my life. And I'm using e.l.f. Tone Correcting Powder. This 4-toned little beauty. Again, just a tiny little bit. We don't want to do too much. I'm just going to sweep on a tiny little bit of layer for... This is not really for coverage. This is just so that the whole makeup settles a little bit, stays on longer, and stays matte for a longer time. What we're going to do next is we're going to apply our eyeshadow. I'm going to be using Too Faced Shadow Insurance and Candlelight. And yes, when it comes to primers, I'm definitely a Too Faced girl. Too Faced has just the best primers. I adore Too Faced anyway, so. I also have the Sonia Kashuk primer, which is great too, but the Too Faced one, you just get more for your money. It's so much in there, you need so tiny of the primer. This is the amount of primer you need for both eyes, and this is probably a little too much already. The Too Faced primer I usually just dab on with my fingers, because it's a little bit more liquidy. Actually, it's a lot more liquidy than the very creamy and almost hard Sonia Kashuk one, which is easily applied with a concealer brush. But that's not necessary with the Too Faced primer. And I'm going to use this Too Faced beauty. It's the Chocolate Bar Palette. It's been all over the internet. It's still hyped, and the hype is for a reason. Such a beauty. Can you see it? So I'm going to use one of the darker shades on my eyelid, and I'm going to use an Essence brush for that. And I'm just going to apply this one dark tone all over my eyelids. And raise the color a little bit to the bone here. I have drooping eyelids, so I have to always draw my whole shadows a little higher than others probably would do. But this has just worked out as the best method for me, so that actually people can see that I still wear makeup and it doesn't like get lost. This doesn't have to be super duper clean, and due to my drooping eyelids, yeah, I have to do the whole yoga thing and tuck my lid up and everything, so I can actually really fill out the whole lid. What I'm gonna be doing next is use my Sonia Kashuk Core Tool in number 103, which is one of the best eyeshadow brushes I've ever had. It's a rather flat eyeshadow brush, and I'm going to use one of the even darker tones. I'm going to use the Black Forest Truffle tone and apply it on the outer corner of my eyelid. Sweep it up a little bit and then sweep it around this bone here back to the front corner of my eye and let it blend out when going to the front corner of my eye. This will add some depth to the look and just make it a tiny little bit more dramatic. Not too much, and I'm going to apply a little bit under my eye too. And last but not least, I am gonna use a fluffy eyeshadow brush. I think this is an old Coastal Scents one, and add some of the super light color to the inner corner of my eye, not too much, and blend it out to the outside. And I'm gonna do the dark first color a little bit again and add it on the moving lid, because we've blended so much now, to make it a little bit stand out a little bit more. Basically, that's almost it. Now I'm gonna be using Physicians Formula Shimmer Strips Custom Eye Enhancing Gel Cream Liner, and I'm gonna be using purple today because I like the contrast. No, I'm gonna be doing black. One of my favorite eyeliners of all times, definitely, with the angled eyeliner brush. I have to do the yoga thing again. And now that that's done, I can go ahead and do mascara. I'm using Estee Lauder Sumptuous Extreme Mascara. Which has a rather big brush. And while we allow that to dry a little bit, I am going to continue to and go on and do my brows. For my brows, I'm going to be using, if I can find it, haha, I gotta tidy up my place a lot more, holy crap. I'm going to be using, I got this tip from friends in a Facebook beauty group. I'm going to be using Maybelline Color Tattoo eyeshadow in Tough as Taupe. Actually, this makes a perfect brow color if you need a really cold tone. Now you can't laugh at me, I'm not a brow expert. I've just recently really started doing my brows at all. And I am still perfecting my technique and still learning in the learning process of doing my brows. So it always looks really horrible when I do my brows and I have to like correct a lot. Like about 1.5 years ago, I haven't even trimmed my eyebrows at all. I haven't shaped them, nothing. And I've only started to trace them about maybe a year ago too. So I'm going to try to correct the big mess that I've made here. always have to do that. Yesterday worked out way better than today did. And I'm just gonna dab a little Q-tip and a little bit makeup remover. And remove all the excess that we don't need. But as you can see, this cool tone works perfectly with the cool hair tone. So this works way better than all the warm powders that I've been finding. And one of the biggest problems is that I'm having when doing my brows is that my two sides of my face are not even. So this brow sits way higher than this does naturally. So I have to try to draw this up and I have to try to draw this down. So it's just, I hate it, really. This is probably one thing that I really like least is my brows. And the effect that they are uneven. So I'm trying to make them as even as possible, but that's really not easy at all. Okay, now that that's done, you can apply a second layer of mascara. We want to see, again with the layers, we want to see that the layers are all pretty dried up and we're not smearing around. And what I'm gonna do last is use a little bit MAC shadow in White Frost and a very fluffy brush to apply just a tiny little dab right under the eyebrow bone to highlight a little bit here, just a tiny little bit. This will lift the brows up a little bit more, especially with my drooping lids. I want to like make my eyes a little bit bigger. Last thing we're gonna do is apply blush. I'm using my Sonia Kashuk Professional Domed Blusher Brush, which is super soft. And a blush from NYX in Rose Garden. I always do the small thing so I know where to apply the blush. And actually in the camera it looks like a lot of brush. Actually in reality it's just not even half as much. And with this slightly domed but tighter bound brush, I'm going to be doing some contouring with a powder that's a little darker than my natural skin tone. I'm using the Bourjois Mineral powder in Beige Medium, which is just a tad darker than my own skin tone, and it was originally well, I just bought the wrong shade, but now I'm using it for contouring because it's perfect for that. Gonna add some dark up here and take it down here under the blush. Some on the sides of my nose. I don't like my nose. I want to make it look slimmer. And some highlighter. And my time on my camera is running out. Oh my god, my battery is low. And I'm going to be doing some highlighter. This is the Wet n Wild Fergie highlighter. And a skunk brush, one of those really fluffy skunk brushes. Just on the back of your nose. Over your lips. This will make your lips look nicer. A little bit on your forehead and a little bit over your blush on the higher point of your blush.